All right, welcome aboard, space travelers. Forget your typical vacation spots. Today, we are taking you on the most extreme tour in the entire solar system. We're talking a grand tour of galactic doom. The itinerary is packed, so let's get going. You ever just look up at the stars and think, I wonder what the absolute worst way to go out would be up there? Well, if you have, this is the trip for you. We are going to find out just how spectacularly you would meet your end on every single planet. So buckle up, it's going to be a bumpy ride. Okay, so our first set of destinations takes us to the inner solar system. These are the rocky planets, the ones closest to the sun, and let me tell you, they do not exactly put out the welcome mat. First stop, Mercury. So here's the thing about Mercury. It has basically no atmosphere. That means there's nothing to trap heat. In the daytime, it gets hot enough to literally melt lead. But then at night, it gets colder than your freezer. So you could get incinerated and then flash frozen all before you even find your luggage. Oh, and it gets so much worse. Obviously, there's no air to breathe, but you're also getting blasted with solar radiation that's nearly 7 times stronger than what we get on Earth. But here's the real kicker. Even our absolute best technology can't save you. A top-of-the-line NASA spacesuit just can't handle these temperatures. It fails if it gets too hot, and it fails if it gets too cold. So on Mercury, you're just done. All right, let's hop over to our next spot, a planet that people like to call Earth's twin. But as you're about to find out, this is kind of like the evil twin from a horror movie. Welcome to Venus. So as you're making your descent, you're going to see this incredible view. The whole planet is covered in these thick, gorgeous, yellowish clouds. It looks peaceful, right? Almost kind of dreamy. Surprise. Yeah, those pretty clouds, they're made of sulfuric acid. If you were to take just one breath, your lungs would be completely dissolved. So much for this scenic route, huh? But, okay, let's pretend your suit can handle the acid. The very next thing you'd notice is the pressure. It's 92 times the pressure we have here on Earth. That's like being a kilometer deep in the ocean. Your suit and you would be crushed into a little tin can instantly. Yeah, Venus does not play around. Okay, on to the big one. The place everyone's talking about, Mars. This is supposed to be our future second home, right? Humanity's next chapter? Well, let's take a closer look at what's actually waiting for us there.
Let's just do a quick side-by-side. The atmosphere on Mars is 95% carbon dioxide, and it's super, super thin. That means there's nothing to block the sun's radiation. We're talking 40 to 50 times what you get on Earth. And that average temperature? A chilly minus 63 degrees Celsius. Not exactly a tropical getaway.
Oh, and I almost forgot. Mars is famous for its dust storms. And I don't mean a little dust devil. I mean storms that cover the entire planet with winds whipping around at 100 kilometers an hour. So on top of freezing and a radioactive, unbreathable atmosphere, you'll also be getting sandblasted. Sounds fun. So let's recap. We've been burned, crushed by pressure, dissolved by acid clouds, irradiated, and frozen in a dust storm. And I have to tell you, that was the easy part of the tour. Now we're heading to the outer solar system, and that's where things get really, really weird. You ready for this? Welcome to the gas giants. First thing you need to know, there's nothing to land on here. You don't visit these planets. They're more like giant, endless traps that you just fall into. Forever. So falling into Jupiter would go something like this. First, you'd hit these clouds made of frozen ammonia crystals, with winds blowing at 500 kilometers an hour. Then you'd fall past the deepest point any of our probes have ever survived. Keep going, and the atmosphere gets so thick it becomes this weird thing called a supercritical fluid. It's not a gas, not a liquid. Eventually, you just get stuck, trapped in this thick sea of metallic hydrogen. And if, by some absolute miracle, you actually made it toward the core, the pressure is 100 million times what we feel on Earth, and the temperature is about 24,000 degrees Celsius. Just to put that in perspective, that's 4.5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. Yeah, there's no coming back from that. All right, next up, Saturn. Even before you get to the planet itself, you have to get through its famous rings, which are basically just a giant high-speed blender of ice and rocks. If you survive that, you'll get to see a hurricane at its north pole so massive you could fit 2 entire Earths inside it, all while dealing with temperatures that drop down to a lovely minus 250 Celsius. But the real showstopper on Saturn, it's the wind. Around the equator, the winds have been clocked at 1,800 kilometers per hour. That's faster than the speed of sound. You wouldn't just be blown away, you would be ripped apart by the force of it. We've now reached the final stops on our little tour of horrors: the dark, the cold, the very mysterious ice giants. And if you thought the gas giants were bad, just you wait. Okay, so quick clarification. When we say ice giant, it's a little misleading. They're not actually solid balls of ice. It just means they're made of heavier stuff than Jupiter and Saturn, things like water, methane, and ammonia. Got it? Cool. So let's talk about Uranus. It's famous for being the coldest planet in the whole solar system. But its real party trick is that deep inside its atmosphere, the pressure is so intense that it literally squeezes carbon atoms together and makes it rain solid diamonds. Sounds kind of fancy, right? Well, here's the catch. Those diamonds are flying around in 900-kilometer-per-hour winds under pressure that's 100 times greater than Earth's. So it's not so much a gentle diamond shower, it's more like being shredded to pieces by the universe's most expensive gravel.
And last but not least, we have Neptune. The easiest way to think about Neptune is just it's Uranus's bigger, meaner twin. It probably has diamond rain too, but it takes the wind and dials it way, way up. Neptune has the fastest winds in the entire solar system. They're supersonic. There's really nothing else to say. It would be over very, very quickly.
And just like that, our grand tour of galactic doom is over. After being burned, frozen, crushed, radiated, and pelted with diamonds, I think it's finally time to go home. So after all of that, doesn't our little blue planet seem kind of amazing? Just the simple fact that we can stand outside and breathe the air without it dissolving our lungs, or feel a gentle breeze that doesn't tear us apart, that's a luxury we totally take for granted. You know, the universe is this huge, incredible, and shockingly hostile place. It really does make you appreciate how ridiculously perfect our little spot in the cosmos is. So I have to ask, now that you've seen the alternatives, where are you planning your next vacation? I'm thinking somewhere with a nice beach and, breathable air.